Welcome to 60-Minute Sports. I am Christopher Zidane Matthews.
And I'm Vengo, the irrational one.
Yeah, very much so. And when they hear you in this video, they will realize why you are called the irrational one.
Let's see.
So, we're not going to just talk about the direct things that happen in sports. We'll look at the sport itself and the technicalities and a lot of things involved in sports. And this video will do exactly that. So, Venga, my co-host, was on a radio program yesterday discussing some, I think he was talking nonsense, but I want to give him the opportunity to change the narrative, pretty it up, sound a little better, but let me see if not a double down. So tell us what you were saying.
No such thing. It is already pretty. Right? What has been happening, there are a couple of hosts who have 4 hours to talk nonsense and want to change the culture and the norms of football. And that is part of the problem. Football has its own norms and its own jargons. I am saying to determine or give some amount of credibility to a player who has been crowned the best, FIFA, UEFA have designed somewhat of a system in the Golden Boot and the Golden Glove. It's no perfect system, but at least it's not left to an individual's own account or their own perception. And if it is done that way, you'll have a continuous and endless debate. Now, let's take, for example, the Golden Boot. It is given to a player over a season to somewhat try to give some recognition to this player as being the best player. Now, what has been happening is that people come with somewhat of a cricketing formula, talking about averages and minutes on the pitch to determine the best player. And if you go that route, what will happen is that a player that spends 1 minute on the pitch and scores 1 goal, based on that form of reasoning, then that's the best player. And the person who has scored a number of goals over the season is not seen as the best player. So I quite agree with the formula to determine who's the best player or give some recognition to a player. And in a debate, you can say, based on the fact that they have scored 32, 33 goals over a season, then this player is somewhat of a better player. And it calls for a more rational debate. How say you?
Everything that you said a while ago was very rational because, first of all, obviously, if I play 90 minutes of a football game, I am a marksman. It's different if somebody comes on in the 98th minute, gets an open opportunity and scores. Well, we're not why things are better about score. We're talking about over a long period of time. Over a long period of time, it is idiotic for you to use goals in terms of the aggregate, the number of goals, because one player might play 20 years, another player might play 16 years. 16 years of whole lot of football. It would be unfair enough to say, listen, he ended up with 100 more goals than a man who played 16 years. So he was a better goal scorer. Now, in my 16 years, what if I played 200 less games because he went off for 20 years? It's not logical for you to say, but he is the better striker because he has more goals. You have to look at what I do on a game-by-game basis because those are out to a long career. So that is established as to what we are doing. So if I am giving you a goal per game and he's giving you 1.5 goals per game, then I must be seen as the better goal scorer. It's just simple logic.
And whose logic is that?
Yes, logic.
If you may work it out that way. What is the industry? Every norm, every sport has its norm. Whose norm is that? Is any award given to any, that logic that you're referring to? Is there any award given out for that logic that you have worked out? It may be logical.
Yes,
if you look at it from a mathematical perspective, is that the norm in football?
Well, let me answer.
No. Don't answer.
No, they don't give out award for goals per game ratio.
Fine. Okay. So is that used to judge any player? For example, King Pele.
All right.
Was that used to crown Pele King?
All right. That is your argument.
No. Just give me answer me a few questions. Was that formula that mathematical formula, which may be logical to an extent. And was that the industry norm to use to recognize Pele as the king?
I'm coming to Pele. But
was that used to recognize Diego Maradona as the king?
I'm coming to Maradona.
Was that used to determine if Cristiano Ronaldo...
Will I be allowed to answer the questions? Alright, so let me answer the first question. We're coming to Pele and Maradona. The first question, they give out an award to the best goalkeeper. They call it the Golden Glove. That's what they call it?
Right.
The keeper with the most clean sheets.
Right. For the season.
For the season. Listeners, viewers, isn't it idiotic, asinine to say the goalkeeper with the most clean sheets is the best goalkeeper? When you look at the play, you realize that he plays for Spain, for example, in the 2010 World Cup, where Spain had 80% possession against basically every team. The goalkeeper was hardly tested. They are a top team. He didn't concede, mainly because of Spain dominating the ball and the overall quality. While another goalkeeper who's playing for a very weak team, whose teams are all over his team, he makes 20-point blank save and still concede 5 goals. Who is the better goalkeeper? Who should be rated as the better goalkeeper? And most the goalkeeper who made 20-point blank save. So the awards being given out cannot be determined necessarily. I'm not saying it doesn't mean it can't get that.
So question for you. The best. You know, want to say that what UEFA and FIFA is doing is nonsensical.
I never said it was nonsensical.
But I'm saying it is not a perfect system.
It is not the right system.
And I
it is just a system.
My argument is from the beginning, the norms, customs, as it relates to football. That is a footballing norm, but it may not necessarily be the best mathematical formula. And this is what you have been using in football. And I've said before, there are people who are football neophytes who have played cricket all their life and want to change the narrative and the custom of football. I don't know, I don't see them doing that. It is not perfect. It is what we are using now, and I can understand the rationale behind using that. Cristiano Ronaldo has recently broken a world record as it relates to the most goals in international tournament. There is no mathematical formula. Is it that you have the most goals or you don't? And that's for, I think it stands to reason.
Now, what does it mean to have the most goals? That is what I'm contesting. I'm not saying the other issue should be an issue with you having the most goals. I'm asking, what does it mean? It means nothing in the grand scheme of things.
It means something that this person has a world record. And I am saying to you, it is a recognized, and when an individual has a world record.
The debate is not about whether it's the norm or that is how they give out awards. The debate is, does it mean you are the best goal scorer because you have scored the most goals? That is simply what I'm asking.
No, it is a recognition.
It is not.
It is a recognition or a starting point to say that this player is ahead of his peers.
No.
Alright? So you want to use the
what will you do for me per game? That's what I want to do. The reality of sports is some people will play more games than some. Either because of injury and maybe because one decided to go very long and some retire early. Don't tell me that in basketball, Karim Abdul-Jabbar is a better scorer than Michael Jordan because he played 20 years and had more points than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, on a per game basis over 20 years, over 14 seasons, is a greater scorer than Karim Abdul-Jabbar.
Alright, so by your logic and your mathematical formula, which is not applicable and it is not used, Asafa Powell is greater than Usain Bolt because he has the most sub-10 timing. So he's a better player.
But on average, you're still there. On average, Usain Bolt runs faster time. Asafa might have run more races than Usain Bolt because he runs everywhere he goes. But on a per race basis, Usain Bolt on average goes faster. So then it comes down to average.
And you're making my point.
I'm not making your point.
You're making my point because that is not used to judge greatness. Greatness is based on one of the criteria. And that's why we have a lot of debate in sports. Sports mimics religion. Is that it's a sensible position to rank world record over averages. And that is why FIFA in its wisdom, UEFA in its wisdom, don't go off into no mathematical format to determine some form of accolades. So recognize anybody ahead of the game.
But it's wrong. You keep going back to what UEFA is doing.
No,
we're not saying, we're not saying they should not award the most score to you. I'm saying if you play 7 World Cup games, so you play all 7 games, you go to the finals, your team win the World Cup, you score 5 goals over those 7 games. That's the most goal. Yes, you're awarded golden boot. Well done. But I'm saying to you, somebody who scored 4 goals and only played 3 games in the knockout stage, that record is just better.
You're still missing the point. Is that formula?
It's the best formula.
Alright, says who?
Who says the logic? Who says the logic?
Who is using
it? Look at the logic. The logic it is. Look at the logic.
You're missing the ship, you know. What I'm saying to you, football has its norms, its customs of determining things. And I am saying to you, that which you have is something that you have concocted with some cricketer to say that this is the best way. Nobody uses that.
Let me answer that.
It is using cricket to determine the top. Is it using cricket to determine the top player at the tournament?
Viewers.
No.
They give the most.
So who uses that? This matter
to determine who
uses.
We are not trying to find.
No, that is what we're doing.
We're not trying to
find the accolades that are given to players.
No,
that's you are not
trying to find.
No, you are.
Who is the best? We're not trying to find out and who got the award. We know who gets the award.